Hi guys, it's Carcer back again with another few games of Battlefield Gothic Armada 2, and I'd just like to say Happy New Year to all of you listening. I hope you had a wonderful time in Christmas and ate loads of food and drank loads of booze and all that. So, for this first game, we're going to be taking out the standard Evil Sunz fleet. Oh, I have actually tweaked it a little bit. So I've swapped out the onslaughts I normally take for some brute ram ships, just for lulz. And we are going with the two hammer battle cruisers for the medium-sized slot as well. So we're facing off against Red Fox, who is going to be using the Adeptus Mechanicus in this game. The points are kind of spread out, but I'm not that fussed. Admech ships aren't super fast for him to be able to take advantage of that, and plus Admech players never really do anything, particularly mobility based anyway. Generally you're going to be going up against a bunch of cruisers or Art Mechanicus with a few cruisers in support, which, yep, looks very much like what we've got here. So I do have my ships spread out in the standard Admech fighting formation. Just got to keep them nice and spread out in a line there, which prevents him from being able to slow down chunks of my fleet with the Eye of the Omnissiah, and stops him from being able to hit multiple ships at once with either Omnissiah or standard Nova Cannon shots. So I'm going to send a couple of fighters out to do a bit of a recce. The Hammer Battlecruiser does have a single launch bay, which, to be honest, for offensive use isn't particularly useful. It's mostly just for scouting and for taking out bombers, which are sent if the bombers are sent out unescorted. Hopefully is currently on brace for impact, just to mitigate the Nova Cannon damage. We're just going to try and get the whole line, just run straight towards them, try and get a nice wrap around. His ships are pretty close together, so that works out well for me. Should be able to get a nice tractor slam on them. And my rest of my escorts are kind of just spread out around the map, and they're just going to be taking points. So the 2 points on the left hand side should be 100% mine easily. Obviously I've got the one nearest my deployment zone. Enemy has got the one in the top right, and then there's the center point, which I'll probably catch as well, because we're starting to get in range now where he's probably going to be using those Nova Cannons. Obviously I've got the two battle cruisers going out ahead. I don't want them to get too far ahead. Okay, so we started firing shots at my brutes. Okay, that works. I was kind of hoping he would fire at my battle cruisers, and then I'd be able to turn around and boost back the other way. Because I'm thinking if he did start firing his Nova Cannons, he'd probably do it right on the periphery of where they could fire. So if I boost backwards rather than forwards, then it might cause him to waste his Nova Cannon shots. But since he seems to have fired off pretty much everything, I'm just going to boost my fleet forward. I'm going to reload stance. So hopefully that should allow me to boost again before he's had a time to recharge his a chance to recharge his Nova Cannons. Just going to move this boot up and get all the spots off. And yep, it does indeed look like a standard Admech fleet, so 4 cruisers plus the 1 Art Mechanicus. Okay, we've got the Rad Tempest going down. I think that's probably one of my battle cruisers. Yeah, that looks like it's catching my battle cruisers. see if we can get them out of there. It's probably going to be omnisires. Indeed they are. And he has fired off the rest of his novas again, it looks like, so that's fine. That'll keep those ships stationary and allow my battleships to come in for a nice side charge. Interestingly, he's flying his 2 other cruisers straight towards my waiting battleships. I mean, sure, okay. That's fine, that'll keep things nice and quick. Having and hawing about what to do with my tractor. I think let's go for a tractor slam over there. Because I'm thinking the 2 ships there closest to the rest of my fleet are probably going to go down pretty quickly. Get a few boarding actions off. Boarding actions always great to use against the Adeptus Mechanicus, because they cannot hack that at all. And if it does force them to go into brace for impact, not brace for impact, for what's it called? You know the one I mean, the stance when you get boarded. Then it means they can't use their Nova cannons. So I've got some more Novas going off. This one's going to hit my flagship, it looks like. Basically just going to... oh, it's just not on the side. Okay. I do have overload shields on the flagship just in case he gets heavily focused down, but that usually happens on the approach. Once you get to the kind of knife fight stage here, then... So that was a double Nova shot. It did take out my 2 cruisers, battle cruisers, unfortunately. But it's not 100% over at this point, but it's pretty much over at this point. His ships are all in like very low health, and they're now in a knife fight with 3 dead, not Ordsguard Dakas, which is really not what you want to be. Like so often I see with AdMech, they'll just sit there and fire away the Nova cannons at you and just allow you to get up close with them. And really what they should be doing is doing everything in their power to try and kite and spread out and kite. That's how you win with AdMech against orcs. So got a nice ram there. I was kind of hoping to ram it into the other ship as well, but that's fine. So we get boarding off on the second ship, and then my flag and one other battleship are going after the Arc Mechanicus. Just going to set my flagship back. He'll get better value out of his tractor cannon if he's got 2 ships to play with. There we go, nice little ram there, and that really came from it. He maybe caught himself with I just trying to boost away. So it kills another ship. Another Rad Tempest going down here. Don't have a boost available just yet, so I am going to take quite a bit of this in addition to some extra damage from travelling through the asteroid belt. But luckily I've got plenty of hit points to absorb that. Oh, just going to dance out the way of this Nova Cannon shot with my flagship as well. He's sitting on very low morale at the moment. My rally's not quite back. There we go, okay, I've managed to rally him. So I'll just boost and give chase. Okay, great, that's the shields back up on my flagship, so he should stop taking morale damage. Now it's just basically a case of chasing down this Arc Mechanicus. Sorry it's not particularly interesting to watch, but hey ho, at least we'll get a nice explosion at the end. Okay, let's put it in for a wee tractor ram and kiss.
You have accumulated 75% of strategic.
I'm not even quite sure if I made contact there before he got shot down. Probably not. Boof. Okay, well that was a pretty textbook AdMech v Orcs game. That's usually what I see. I think you could do quite, yeah. I wonder if you could do an interesting carrier-based fleet with the AdMech. If you used a bunch of the light cruisers, I'm sure Oh, what's his name? Yeah, I forget. I don't know. There was some streamer and YouTuber who did a fleet of AdMech light cruisers against me ages and ages ago, back before the fighter and bomber changes. You know, so you could just send out multiple flights at once. Airsick Hydra, that's the guy. Okay, in this second game we are playing against Bilanthropos, and he is using Tau Protector Fleet. That's cool. I haven't had Tau Protector Fleet for a wee while, so I'm happy to watch that. And the great thing about Tau Protector Fleet is you're never quite sure what you're going to get. Like, I think the meta probably still is for all cruiser fleets, but you do tend to get a bit more variety with them. I'm starting to see custodians again occasionally, so that's cool. I really like the custodian. It's a good ship. But like, yeah, whenever you see like some of the top like Tau Protector player, you know, Kurnek or whatever, they just use like the, I don't know, was it 6 or 7 of the cruisers and just do the usual fighter screened seeker missile spam. Which, yeah, you know, can be effective. It depends what kind of fleet. I mean, if I've got the one of my carrier fleets with a lot of terrors, then that can be dealt with very easily. And there's ways around it as well, even with this battleship and hammer fleet. Right, so let's see the map. Looks like most of the points are kind of skewed towards the middle and left of the map. So I'll just make my way across there. And just have a group of 4 brutes make their way up. I mean, if they run into any of the escorts, I mean, you know, you've got to think there are going to be escorts. You know, through one way or another, Tau usually has gravity hooks. Oh, okay, what have we got here? So custodian, 1 cruiser, and 1 demiurge so far. Okay, that's cool. No asteroid belt in the enemy deployment zone, so that particular demiurge is not going to have anywhere to charge up his laser, which is good news for me. That's one thing that can really fuck you up when you get into a close-up knife fight, as you have to do with the orcs, is getting zapped down with demiurge cutting beams. Because you're generally going to lose your shields on the approach with all that long-range Tau firepower, and then that can leave you pretty exposed to the old cutting beam. It looks like we've got multiple waves of ordnance coming out, and it looks like they're going for my brutes, but I did re-stealth in the asteroid belt there. So I guess they're just going to go straight past. So I may as well take the opportunity to send some scouts of my own then, since all their craft are down here. Doesn't look like they've got anywhere particularly useful to re-stealth in once I get them spotted, so... oh, I suppose they've got asteroid belts there. But if they do jump in there, then that kind of works in my favour, because then I'll have them pushed against the side of the map. I'll make them easier to catch.
Yeah. You got it.
Am I going to get these spots off? They're recalling all their fighters. I should still get the spots off before they manage to get their fighters out to intercept. Got the demiurge, got the cruiser, and will we also get the custodian? Yes, we do. Right, so we'll just bring them back. No point in having them die. And they're sending out a wave of bombers, so I should be able to get these fighters back up again in time. to block them. One squad of bombers going for these two brutes, so I'll just duck the fuck out of there. Oh wait, even better, gas cloud. Boosty boost. And come on fighters, there we go. Although I was in brace for impact stance, because I was flying towards where the bombers are coming from, then obviously that makes that closing distance quite a bit faster, so often they can slip through your point defense. So I'll just drop a wee stasis here. Just going to catch the cruiser, and hopefully this demi-erg as well. I didn't quite make it. I was hoping he would be able to get a ram off on the cruiser there. Okay, just took a bunch of seeker missiles, but they all went to the frontal 85 armor arc, so that didn't really do a huge amount of damage. Because he didn't try to maneuver away, he's now stuck here. Oh, looks like we got one of the big demi-ergs over on that asteroid, so he is going to have his laser charged up, so I've got to watch out for that. So my two hammers are just going to take down the small demi-erg, while my three battleships go to town on the custodian and his little cruiser escorts. I'm taking bomber damage, unfortunately. I'll just do a little tractor ramp. I think I absorbed one of those torpedoes there, so that was quite cool. But yeah, he's not even making any attempt to get away at this point. Ram to them and yeah, it looks like the that demi-erg just fired off his cutting beam into the back of his own custodian. So yeah, that's fine. If you that saved me a bit of ammo. Thank you very much, Philanthropos. Yep, I totally forgot about all my escorts. So fuck it, I'll just have him. Think he connected and took one out.
You have seized a strategic area.
Yeah, looks like there were 3 escorts there, so he did make his ram. That's good. No, disengaging. I want to watch the explosions. Thank you very much. Okay, capitulate. Fair enough. So that was cool. I'm glad I'm seeing custodians again. They are really powerful ships. Yeah, I mean, you need to kite them though. This guy's only like level 1. He doesn't know any better. So, for this game, I've decided to try something a little bit different. It's quite a departure from my usual fleets. So I was watching a Oathmaster video the other day where he decided to have a go using a boarding-centric orc fleet. But for whatever reason, he used the battlecruiser with the double zaps and no hangar bays. And if you're going to use boarding as your, that's your ethos and your plan, then you're going to want ships that have got hangar bays. Otherwise you're just missing out on like a ton of additional boarding. And also, rather than using death skulls to get that damage boost, I think the better thing to do is to use Goffs in conjunction with the Wah ability to give you a massive crit chance boost. I think it's something like, so you get a 100% crit chance with the Wah popped, and then I think with the Goffs you get an additional 10% crit chance for every boarding action, just permanently, not only a 30-second timer. So that in conjunction with 7, we're going for the Hammer Smacker. And so the Hammer Smacker, this is notable because it's got a torpedo bay. So none of these ships that I'm fielding have got megacannons. Megacannons are normally a mainstay of all my fleets, but like I say, I'm going to try and do something a bit different. So we've got boarding torpedoes, we've got our boarding actions and lightning strikes, and we've also got strike craft for all 7 of these ships. And these are good brawling ships as well, although they're a bit lacking in the frontal firepower compared to the megakannon armed ships. They do still have forward firing light guns and guns artillery. On the side they've got guns batteries and heavy guns batteries, and it's the heavy guns batteries that are the real damage dealers. So you start off in a forward facing arc, strip the shields down using the long range gun batteries in the front, and then you come in and you start really chunking away the damage with the heavy guns on the side. And while you're on your approach, obviously you're doing some boarding actions with your strike craft and the boarding torpedoes. Just get them nice and softened up. Maybe even push them into a God, I can never remember what it's called. The rappel border stance. Oh, okay. So it's a whole fleet of balls. Well, this is not ideal. Because they are croup balls, they are immune to critical effects. So, that's kind of like that's one of your main trump cards when you're playing as a boarding centric fleet. Is you're doing your boarding, killing the crew, but you're also causing module damage, which isn't going to be happening. Which is unfortunate. So. Bunch of balls, which means there's probably going to be a stealth light cruiser somewhere. My guess is that capture point in the top left hand corner, unless that's an escort. He may have kept it nearer to the balls, which is probably the better thing to do. So I'm moving my fleet laterally over to the right. I don't want to run head on into the 4 of them at once. I'd rather try and get a couple of them isolated. So ideally I want to come up the right hand side with my fleet and then only be within firing range of a couple of these balls at once and just try and get them whittled down. And yep, there he is. So just before we recloaked, looked like he was starting to head over, which is not surprising. He's probably going to come up and try and support his fleet. He'll needed to rally them. Now that Watercast Diplomat isn't broken anymore. So we've got the fleet on lock-on stance now. Let's see if I can bail him out in there. They've actually got pretty decent range on those spheres when they've got their lock-on stance on. Right, okay. Let's fire some torpedoes. Oh, I do miss all those little lines. I love that little crosshatch of lines. Not even going to bother with the non-armor piercing, the shitty standard dumbfire torps with the orcs, because they're just useless. They've got no armor piercing whatsoever, so wherever you hit gets the full benefit of its armor, which I believe is all around 85 on the cruise spheres. So yeah, absolutely no point whatsoever. I did get a nice amount of boarding actions off on that one sphere, so now we're going to send a fighter screen squadron of strike craft, who's going to drop a bunch more. Okay, so that puts him on 11 boarding actions, and I'm going to boost up past this other ball and get a bunch of standard boarding actions off on him. So just drag him back, make sure he stays nice and close to us so we can get all of our boarding actions off. Good shit. And pop the WASP. That'll now cause crit boarding on everyone who's currently suffering boarding actions. So 26, that's very nice. Okay. Fantastic. There's the first. So we got a mutiny, a couple of fires. So yeah, although the balls are immune to crit module damage, they can still suffer fires, which is great. So that helps with the. I just did see the ghostly apparition of his flagship in the background there, just sitting around about the gas cloud. So I'll just fire a few more torps. I must remember that I do actually have torpedoes, because I'm not used to using them at all. It's kind of odd to be having my ships on a sideward facing stance as well. And get a few more boarding actions off on that guy as well. Maybe try and drop a couple on this one. Should get one off. Okay, I've been caught in a stasis bubble. Doesn't really matter.
You have accumulated 25% of strategic points.
Okay, here's another mutiny. I know the enemy flagship's nearby, so he'll probably get popped out of that as soon as the countdown. I'm pretty sure he used his rally ability quite recently for that that other war sphere that's got the low crew. Yeah, I am starting to miss the megakannon at this point just because of that raw damage, but yeah, this is working out pretty well too. Oh, and the enemy flag has revealed himself, but he's stealth. So I would definitely like to kill him. So let's get one of my escorts up here. We're going to try and get a scanner pulse off on him. Enemy balls are all rubbing up against each other at the moment. Oh, it's real. Is it real? Can I catch him? Yes. Come to me. Here we go. Oh, lovely couple of rams there. So he should be getting minced. In 3, 2, 1. Poof. And that pops mutiny and everything else pretty much. Let's fire off enemy value boarding torps, why not? I think I just fucked most of my flagship's boarding torps into that ball corpse, but doesn't matter. That last remaining ball is in super low health, so I'll just low morale. So I'll just fire a few more boarding actions, which should be sufficient to take him out of the fight, since he's got no way to recall him anymore. Okay, so I've still got. So what did I lose? Like just 2 of those battle cruisers. There's definitely a point to be made for swapping these battle cruisers out for the cruiser equivalent. I guess it would be the. Is it the Terror? It's called the Terror Smack It as well. So we'd have 2 launch bays each. Although you would forego some of the other firepower. Do they even have? Have they still got heavy guns? I don't think they've got heavy guns on the sides. I think they've just got standard guns batteries along with the artillery guns in the front. Plus they do have quite considerably lower resistance to crit damage. But I'll certainly look into it. But for this final game, we are just going to be using the same fleet as before with the hammer smackers. And this time we've got Admech again. So since it's Admech, I've swapped out Wa for the overload shields, just in case I just try to goon out the flagship again. I really don't want the flagship dying too early on, because that tractor cannon is so super useful. Just in case the enemy does try to run. Plus with AdMech, to be honest, those extra crit chances are not necessary to totally fuck their fleet over with boarding actions. AdMech are just about the worst fleet for taking boarding in the game.
Move that junk.
I think even Corsairs are more resistant to boarding than they are. I don't know. So once again, I'm taking the wide formation, got the flagship in the centre. Because I do have overload shields, I kind of want them to fire at the flagship, but... So, I mean, I could have probably just boosted right at the start there, just to let him know what all my ships are, and then hopefully we'd go for the flag. This weird reverse flying V formation makes me think he's probably a less experienced player, as you might say. So I can't see this going super well. So I'm just going to try and get the boardings off early. If it looks like he's going to launch fighters to cover his arse, I'll recall. And hopefully I have timed this just right, so the fighters will be landing just ahead of the bombers. And that should negate any point defense fire from taking them down. So yeah, I've just got my escorts moving up around to take these points on the edges. Shouldn't be necessary, but better safe than sorry. Right, see what we're dealing with. Oh, an Art Mechanicus, okay. So he's screened, that's nice. Okay. That's good. So I think we got 8 boarding actions off on him. No one, unfortunately, so I can't boost the crit chance. But I still obviously do have the Goff attribute, so that's giving me the 10% extra crit chance, which isn't a huge amount, but I'll take it. So that'll be just that one. I mean, God, you see how weak they are against boarding. Like that single wave of 6, single level 1 fighter bombers took him down a whole crew step. So he's now down into what, 13 crew in yellow, which is bonkers. To be able to do that to a battleship. Like their crew just dies so quickly. It absolutely cripples them. I'm not tempted to go for things like generators and weapons, but I think it's going to be over quickly. So to facilitate that, I've just module-wise, I've targeted all their decks. So it's usually pretty easy to get AdMech to run away. Go for the nice tractor slam. That means firing up a Rad Tempest, but meh. So that's another 6 boarding actions. Don't know if that'll be enough to fully kill his crew. Maybe if I get lucky with the crits. Another wave of fight bombers. Yeah, unfortunately, I think they all got shot down. Well, that's one thing with the AdMech. Although what they lack in crew protection, they do make up for in point defense somewhat. So if you don't catch, the edge ship, or you're launching your fighters and bombers while you're in the middle of a bunch of AdMech ships, then they're going to get taken out pretty easily. But we have other ways and means to board. There we go, it was a very nice tractor slam there. I completely forgot I had torpedoes again, so I'll just, I guess, start firing those off. And they are boarding torpedoes as well, so you don't have to worry about hitting yourself up the arse. Although, to be honest, orc dumbfire torpedoes are so weak that you kind of don't really have to worry about that anyway. They do so little damage. But yeah, I think, you know, to these last few games illustrated how if you're going to go for boarding focused orc fleets, then you definitely want to go for carrier ships. They're far more effective. I mean, like, you know, the games, it allows you to soften up your enemy way more on the approach. Plus, it gives you some vital scouting, so you can, if you have more, you know, you can give it more scouting, so that allows you to start firing on the enemy sooner, get their shields down before you close. Then that obviously makes your powerful heavy guns in the side more effective. And that's the game. I do quite like the orc ships in black as well. It looks quite cool. And as a bonus side point, then finally my character portrait gets to be lore accurate. So, come on yourself, Gaskell. Right, thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one.